Greetings everyone. I've received several messages from some of you telling me that you weren't so sure whether you wanted to get involved in the restoration of a vintage bike or not. Was it worth it? My advice to you, dive right into it. Don't hesitate. It is a great hobby. For one, it's quite affordable. Two, it's really not that difficult, even if you're not mechanically inclined. At the end of the day, there's really nothing that complicated on a bicycle. And lastly, there is something really gratifying when you're done with your project and you look at what you've done and are amazed about it. And believe me, you will be amazed at what you've been able to do. And then you take that bike for a ride and you realize how wonderful those vintage bikes are to ride, how much fun they are to ride. You will be glad that you did and you will catch the bug. But when I first got involved with restoring a vintage road bike, which is only about a couple of years ago, there were two things that really were intimidating me. And that was the disassembly and reassembly of the front fork and the bottom bracket. So I already did a video where I walk you through the disassembly of the front fork of my Peugeot Tourmalet. And now on this video, I'm going to do a video and I'm going to walk you through the disassembly process for the bottom bracket of my 1986 Peugeot Tourmalet. If you're going to work on your bottom bracket yourself, you will need some specialized tools. At the very least, you will need two specialized tools. You will need a crank puller. Here's one. They're pretty much standard to remove the cranks on both sides. And you will need a bottom bracket tool. Now, this is the bottom bracket tool that I need for my Peugeot Tourmalet. It is a 6-notch bottom bracket tool. But the thing about bottom bracket is that they come in all kind of different forms and shapes. And if you look at the bottom bracket tools that I needed when I disassemble the bottom bracket of my Peugeot PB12, I needed this bottom bracket tool for the non-drive side and this bottom bracket tool for the drive side. So I actually needed two. So make sure that you do your homework, do a little research, seek what kind of bottom bracket you have, then go on the side of a company like Part Tool that specializes into bicycles tools. You will have all the different bottom bracket tools that exist, and you will need to order the right one before you start. The second thing you will need to know about your bottom bracket before you start is what kind of standard is it? Is it a British standard, French standard, or Italian standard? British standard bottom bracket are right threaded on the non-drive side, but they are left threaded on the drive side. French and Italian standard are right threaded on both sides. So make sure that you know what kind of bottom bracket you have so you don't damage the thread of your bottom bracket upon disassembly. So in the case of my 1986 Peugeot Tourmalet, I know that it is a British standard, because actually I'm lucky here, it says right here, BSA, which stands for British Standard. I have the specialized tools, so I'm ready to go. Let's do it. Using a 14mm socket wrench, I'm going to start by completely untightening and removing the bolts on both sides of the crank. Once you have removed both bolts, you will need to remove the cranks by using the crank pullers. Now that you have removed both cranks, using your bottom bracket tool, remove the side of the non-bottom bracket. Now remember, the non-drive side is right threaded, but the left side, in the case of a British Standard, is left threaded. So here it is. That's really all there is to it. It's not a big deal. If you have the proper tool, it's fairly easy and you know what you're doing. And don't forget that when you get to the drive side, it is left threaded. So to untighten it, you will have to turn it clockwise, which is counterintuitive. That's the part not to forget. Otherwise, you're going to be tightening it forever and you could even damage the thread and get very frustrated. So find a vintage road bike, restore it, have fun, do something great with it, and see you soon.